Welcome to Soul Spirit Stories, where we bring you heart-touching tales of hope, sacrifice, and unexpected turns of fate. Stories that remind us of the hidden struggles of ordinary people and the extraordinary strength of love and perseverance. Today, we share with you a story that will move your heart and perhaps even bring tears to your eyes. It is the story of a poor janitor's daughter who faced humiliation, injustice, and disbelief, but whose courage and loyalty uncovered a truth that no one expected. This is the story we call, "Ma'am, That's My Dad's Signature." The bell had just rung at St. Mary's Academy, a school known for its wealthy students, strict rules, and a reputation of prestige. Among the sea of neatly dressed children, there was one girl who stood out, not because of her grades, though she was brilliant, nor because of her discipline, which was flawless, but because of the silent struggles that followed her like a shadow. Her name was Alina. Alina was the daughter of a janitor. Her father, Mr. Ralph, had worked in that very school for nearly 20 years. Day after day, he swept the floors, scrubbed the bathrooms, and mopped the hallways. His clothes were always simple, sometimes worn out, but his heart carried dignity and pride. To him, every task, no matter how small, was sacred. He believed that through honest work, he could give his daughter a chance at the future he had never been able to achieve. The other students rarely saw him as anything more than the man with the mop. To many of them, he was invisible. To some, he was even a target of ridicule, but for Alina, he was her hero. She knew the blisters on his hands, the sweat on his brow, and the pain in his back were all sacrifices for her education. And because of that, she studied harder than anyone else. She wanted to make him proud. One afternoon, the class teacher, Miss Nadia, handed out permission slips for a special field trip. It was an educational tour to the capital city, where students would get to visit museums, libraries, and historical sites. Everyone was excited. Alina's eyes sparkled too. She had never been outside her town, never stepped into a museum, never seen those places that her textbooks described with such wonder. But as soon as the teacher announced the cost of the trip, murmurs spread across the classroom. The fee was not small. It was nearly equal to what her father earned in 2 weeks of hard work. Alina's heart sank. She clutched the slip of paper in her hand and thought of her father. Would she dare ask him? She knew how hard things already were at home. That night, she placed the paper on the table while her father was eating. He glanced at it, then at her. She said nothing, but her eyes spoke. He picked it up, read it slowly, and then after a pause, he smiled faintly. "You want to go, don't you?" he asked. Alina nodded silently. He sighed, placed the paper down, and rubbed his tired hands together. "Don't worry, Betty. Your father will make it happen," she tried to protest. "But Abba, it's expensive, and we don't have—" He interrupted gently. "Don't you worry about money. Leave that to me. You just focus on your studies." And true to his word, over the next few days, Mr. Ralph worked extra hours, taking side jobs after school. He cleaned a grocery store late into the night, washed cars in the morning before his shift, and sacrificed his own meals so he could save every coin. His body ached, but he carried within him the picture of his daughter's smile when she would board that bus for the trip. That image kept him going. Finally, he had enough. He placed the money carefully into an envelope, filled out the permission slip, and signed it with his usual humble handwriting. He tucked it into Alina's school bag before she left the next morning. Alina's joy knew no bounds. She hugged him tightly, whispering, "Thank you, Abba, I'll make you proud." But life, as it often does, had another test waiting. At school, when Alina submitted her permission slip and fee, the teacher frowned. She looked at the paper, then at Alina. "Who signed this?" Miss Nadia asked sharply. "My father," Alina replied, confused. The teacher's eyebrows rose. "This doesn't look like a parent's signature. Are you trying to forge it?" The class fell silent. Some students smirked, others whispered. Alina's cheeks burned with shame. "No, ma'am, that's my dad's signature," she said firmly, holding back tears. But Miss Nadia shook her head. "We can't accept this. If your father truly signed it, tell him to come to school and confirm it. Until then, you cannot go on the trip." Alina's heart shattered. The excitement she had held turned into humiliation. The laughter of a few classmates echoed in her ears as she sat down, clutching the rejected slip in her hands. That evening, she ran home in tears and told her father everything. He sat quietly, listening. The pain in his eyes was deep, but he smiled gently at her. "Don't cry, Betty. Tomorrow I will go and tell them myself." The next morning, wearing his faded shirt and simple sandals, Mr. Ralph walked into the school, not as the janitor who swept the halls, but as the father of Alina. Yet the moment he stepped into the office, people stared. Some teachers exchanged glances, whispering. To them he was still just the janitor. Miss Nadia called him in. "Sir, your daughter claims this is your signature. Is that true?" she asked, almost with disbelief. He nodded. "Yes, that is mine." She compared the paper with the school's records, frowning again. "It doesn't match the way educated parents sign." "Are you sure you signed it?" Something in her tone pierced him, but he stood tall. "I may not be educated like the other parents, ma'am. My handwriting may not look neat, but every stroke of that pen carries my truth. That is my signature." Alina, standing beside him, clutched his hand tightly. With trembling lips, she said again, "Ma'am, that's my dad's signature." The silence in the room was heavy. For a moment, no one spoke. Then the principal, who had entered unnoticed, cleared his throat. "Miss Nadia," he said firmly, "do not judge the value of a man's word by the polish of his handwriting. What matters is his honesty. And I have known Ralph for 20 years. He has never lied, never stolen, never cheated. If he says this is his signature, then it is." Miss Nadia's face flushed with embarrassment. She nodded quickly and handed the slip back. I apologize, but the damage had been done." Alina looked up at her father, and in that moment, she saw not just a janitor, not just a man with calloused hands and weary eyes, but the greatest hero of her life. When the day of the trip finally arrived, she boarded the bus with pride, not just because she was going to see new places, but because she knew she carried with her something more precious than any field trip could ever give. Her father's dignity, his sacrifice and his love, and though the world might see him as only a janitor, to her he was a king. Friends, this story is not just about a permission slip or a signature. It is about the unseen sacrifices of parents who give everything for their children. It is about the dignity of honest work, whether you wear a suit in an office or carry a mop in a hallway. And it is about the courage of a child who stood by her father, even when others doubted. So the next time you see someone in simple clothes doing a job others might overlook, remember, they may be carrying the weight of dreams greater than you can imagine. And their signature, no matter how it looks, is worth more than all the wealth in the world. This was today's story on Soul Spirit Stories. If this touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful tales of humanity, sacrifice, and love. Because every soul has a story, and every spirit has a light. Thank you for listening.